Hello, hello. It's me again. Yeah, I know, crazy guy that I am. So there've been requests to see some more recent stuff. So I figured I'll source it from a couple of weeks worth of stuff that I drafted. We can have fun with that. And someone also mentioned that I forgot about split cards coming back in Ravnica block. Previous video I mentioned split cards, for those who didn't watch it. For those who didn't watch it, you also missed like extreme close-up on cat face, but don't worry, if you have a cat yourself, you really didn't miss anything. Trust me, you know what a cat's face looks like. Those evil eyes and everything. But yeah, so what do we got here? Generally I'll draft twice a week down at my friendly local game shop. Most of the time I just end up with, mostly janky stuff. Sometimes I don't. So far this is the second time I've walked away with a Mox Opal. That's always nice. So, trying to figure out well, let's just get them broken down by color first. This is actually kind of interesting. I'll mention this. I drafted this interesting deck tonight. I opened a Phyrexian Crusader, the 2/2 First Strike Infect Pro White, Pro Red guy, and first picked him, and then I picked the Vedalken Anatomist, and then I just didn't end up getting a lot of blue for a while, and then in pack 3 I get handed a Heavy Arbalist, and I'm like, oh, I'll take that, pass the rest. And then in the next pack I get handed a Soliton, and I'm like, oh, you're kidding me, really? Really? You handed me Soliton Gunner? Holy crap! So I ended up going blue as well. The deck had a lot of artifact, and it was mostly infect. But, yeah. 3 Lumen Grid Drakes ended up being really useful. The deck did very well. I ended up coming in 3rd place. It was one of my better showings. Yeah, I was actually, kind of surprised that I did that well with a 3-color deck as well, Normally 3-color doesn't work well in draft unless you've got a lot of mana fixing, like you'll find in a multicolor block. And Scars not being a multicolor block, being primarily an artifact block, yeah, don't normally expect something like that to work out too well. Tangle Mantis, surprisingly solid card. I don't draft green very often, and on occasions, as of late, when I do, going into it for infect cards. Oh well. I mean, I really overall prefer like black and red for removal, and blue for some control, and flyers. Honestly, when I was drafting Rise of the Eldrazi, I usually did pretty decent with blue-white, drafted blue-white control. Just flyers and creature control cards and such. No, something. The mirror cycle, the mono mirror cycle, 2 colorless, fill in the blank metal mirror, taps for 1 mana for specified color. I'm really glad that cycle got reprinted. It's nice, it's awesome, it's fun. I've seen some people complain about some of the removal. I've seen some people say Turn to Slag is bad removal, and I'm like, you know what? Turn to Slag will kill just about any card in the draft environment. I mean, there are very few cards it won't take care of. That, and of course, it's, you play it at an opportune time, you can 2-for-1 with it, and that's always fun. Well, not for the guy who got 2-for-1, but that's not the point. Ichor Wellsprings, these are actually kind of nifty. I like them. I mean, it's one of those cards where the first time I looked at it, I'm like, it looks underwhelming, but there's got to be a way to break it. Something that has an effect that silly, there's got to be a way to break it. And remember why the hell did I put artifacts on top of red cards? Yeah. Anyways, the first time I drafted them, I believe it's Rusted Slashers, the 4/1 artifact creature that you sack an artifact to regenerate it. And first time I drafted this set, I got like Rusted Slasher and a couple of Ichor Wellsprings. I keep thinking ink and not Ichor for some reason. Oh wow, no big whoop. And Spine of Ish-Sah, and let me tell you, that was mean. So mean. Thrawn. Until they get to the Pink Floyd's run. That guy's always a beat stick in draft. Remember 1 week I had like 2 of them in the same deck, and it's just like, oh, that was brutal. There was one game that even though I lost, my opponent sat there afterwards, he just pointed at them, those guys are annoying. Inkmoth Nexus, don't get an artifact deck because it's colorless. Green Shatterstorm. It's speaking of which, I picked up another Spine this week. Yay. I'd like Spine of Ish-Sah. I really do. I mean, it's expensive to cast, but that's okay. Oh, jeez. What was really interesting is second draft tonight. 2 Flare Husks, a Skinwing, and a Strandwalker. That's like 4 of my first 6 picks in pack 1. So I'm like, woohoo! No, I mean, it's really awesome when you're like, you're 6 cards deep into a pack, you haven't chosen a color yet, and you've got 4 living weapons. That's pretty cool. Goblin Cavalier, if you get some equipment in a draft with him, he's nuts. He really is. And it's fun. That's a nice removal card. I mean, I don't know if I'd play it in Constructed, but in draft it's nice, But then again, in draft, any removal is good. In draft, I also tend to say that, Horizon Spellbombs, don't matter what color you're drafted, take them. Because they're good. They're really good. Tumble Magnet, also really good in draft. One of my personal favorites was the time I drafted the deck with 2 Disperses, 3 Necrogen Scutters, and 4 Tumble Magnets. Oh, that was disgusting. The only guy who beat me was the one who had a lot of bounce in his deck, so he kept putting my Scutters back in my hand, and after a while I'm sitting there looking at the Scutters in my hand, and I'm like, I can't cast you again. Well, I can, but I'll kill myself, and the haters happened here. You go there. You go there. So what's going on with this stack? This stack is stuff that I actually haven't sorted through yet, so how the heck all this wound up on top of it? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Oh well, no big whoop. Spin Engine, easy card to underestimate if you haven't actually seen it in action or stopped and really looked at what it does. Ah, Disco Stick Shaman. Awesome removal card. Better than it looks. Much better than it looks. I mean, it's kind of funny. One guy down where I draft, he shows up occasionally. He saw me playing those. It's like, oh, you like those? Oh, I hate them. They're disgusting. They're horrible cards. Blah 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 blah. A couple of weeks later, he's running them in his own draft deck. And you know, I'll give the guy credit. He actually is a good player, but he talks out of his hindquarters way too much. And you know, he's, if no one minds my saying so, kind of a douche canoe. Speaking of such things, this past evening, it's morning now, I haven't slept yet. This past evening we had this fellow show up who said he'd been out of the game for 18 years, and from what he said about when he sold his stuff off, it sounded about right. He said he sold his stuff off when something like Antiquities or Legends was the current set, all well and good. But he also said he played 20 years ago, and I kept telling him, no, you didn't. The game wasn't out 20 years ago. And he's saying, yeah, I did, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it's not difficult to admit that your memory's hazy. It's not difficult to admit you had a brain fart. I mean, anyone who's watched these videos, this series of videos, knows that I've made plenty of brain farts while sorting through stuff and talking about things. And when I catch it, I correct myself. And when someone else catches me, I try to mention it. I don't always remember to, but I try to. You know? And I just think it's really kind of screwed up when, you know, you sit there and you talk out your buttocks, and this thing's disgusting. And I know in draft some cards are like disgustingly good that are only mediocre or otherwise, but that's alright, it happens. But at any rate, yeah, I mean, so the guy says he was playing back in 91, and I didn't think of it at the time, but maybe I should have just like flashed a card at him, maybe just a basic land, and asked him to read out loud what the copyright dates on the bottom of the trademark and copyright dates on the bottom of the card say. Oh, look at that, trademark and copyright 1993 to, well, this one's Scars of Mirrodin, so it says 2010. But, bam, it says 2011 on Mirrodin Besieged. So, yeah, I mean, okay, so 1993. I mean, unless you have a very, very poor conception of copyright law, which is okay, because most people don't. I'm not going to say my conception of copyright law is perfect either, but it's better than most because I've actually looked into it, because I thought about going into writing as a career for a while. I thought about it, never really did it, came to the conclusion that well, the thing is with the publishing industry is I just don't think it's for me, I guess. It's the short and sweet way to put it. So, yep. Got all these divided up by color. Got an ant crawling around here. Should complain to the company that maintains this place. Hey, you got ants crawling around the building. Why is there ants up in the building? I'm on the 3rd floor. Are they coming through the woodwork? What's going on? I don't know. It's an old building, though. Oh, jeez. So yeah, I got these guys all divided up by color. I'm not gonna, well yeah, I'm probably gonna have to divide them up by set too, because I've got the 2 parts of Scars block, the two separate boxes already. Things like that is like, you know, it's faster and easier to turn the cards upside down as you sort them. I know I've mentioned that before, but oh well. I mean, you guys can sit here and listen to my commentary on, you know, what cards I think are sick, disgusting, and good. what cards are janky, and for the most part, I'm just going to echo conventional wisdom on most of them. And on a handful, I'm going to disagree horrifyingly with conventional wisdom. These things happen. One of the things, of course, if you are like if you haven't drafted before and you are getting into draft, the big one is the acronym BREAD, B-R-E-A-D. Basically, you go after bombs, removal, evasion, attack, and defense last. And because bombs, they're just cards that are going to win the game on their own. Take them. Even if it's not in your color, take it. A bomb your opponent doesn't get is one you don't have to deal with yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the way things work. Removal cards are great. Attack, pretty much cards that just turn sideways and beat face. And creatures are very important to have. And, you have to have a fair amount of them. I mean, it's possible to have too much removal, because if you have too much removal, then you don't have enough threats. And that's a bad thing. I mean, and of course, one of the things I like to tell people is this, like, if you want to draft life gain cards, fine, go right ahead. Save the good cards for me then, because unless you've got like totally incredible life gain is not a viable strategy, especially not in draft, because, well, quite bluntly put, there's no prize for winning the game with a high life total. You don't get a prize for that. There's no prize for protracting the game as long as humanly possible. No prize for that either. So it's like, yeah, And that's, the sad truth of it. It's one of the reasons why over the years, life gain cards have gotten more and more efficient at gaining you life, because, the people on the design teams came to the conclusion that life gain is really bad. Because it doesn't matter how high your life total is, if you haven't reduced your opponent to 0, he's still kicking too. But, yeah. And what's really great, of course, in draft is when you can get your hands on any kind of reusable removal, like, for example, the Spine of Ish-Sah and the Sacrifice Engine for it. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. These guys, I look at them, I know they're pretty good, especially against Infect. I mean, granted, 5 mana for 4/4 normally isn't all that great in any color. But, yeah, when there's a lot of Infect running around, it's not bad. We do things a little bit differently where I play, and because people get sick of old sets, and we don't actually play Sanctioned. So what we'll generally do, so we've been doing is we've been drafting, instead of 1 Besieged and 2 Scars, we're drafting 2 Besieged and a Scars. And it's fun. It changes things around a little bit. I'm pretty sure the game would be faster if we'd been doing it the way Sanctioned tournaments do it, because Besiege tends to have more higher casting cost cards in it and fewer mana fixers. I mean, you don't have the various mana mirror in there. You just have the one that taps for colorless and has Infect. And of course, you miss out on a lot of that spell bomb action, which gives you some acceleration. You know, because being able to draw cards and accelerate through your deck in limited is actually better in draft, even better in draft than it is otherwise. This guy has been MVP in several games. He's really good. I mean, normally in blue you would expect a tapper / or untapper, which this guy is. But the fact that, you know, whatever he taps or untaps, he puts a neg1 counter on, that's really good. I mean, it's like a blinding mage that slowly kills whatever you throw it at. And that's awesome. It's almost like giving a wither or infect to a special ability. And that's really good. And Intrepid Conscience is also really nice. That's one of the things I've noticed too, is that they, I might have babbled about this before, I don't recall, but yeah, they like to put game control of target creature or permanent effects, especially in blue, at uncommon, which I think is really kind of funny coming, because if you look at, just look at M11 for a moment, just as an example, and you'll find, I can't remember what it's called, 3 colors double blue, it's a creature enchantment that you gain control of enchanted creature. And it's an uncommon. But clone is a rare. Now I understand clone's a rare because it creates more rules questions. I swear I've said all this before, I swear. Oh well, yeah, clone creates more rules questions. Absolutely, positively, without a doubt. But the effect in general just isn't as powerful as the control magic type effect. You know, take control of the opponent's creature. It really isn't, because okay, you have big, huge creature of death and destruction. I cast Clone. I have a copy of it myself. Okay, that's nice. Don't get me wrong. But would you rather do that, or say have take control of your opponents? Because taking control of your opponent's copy, usually better. It's like, yeah, instead of like, you know, making a copy of your guy, I'm just gonna take your guy. So this, you know, this control effect, it might as well be Super Necrotol. Trap. I don't know if everyone who's watching this knows what a Necrotol is. It was originally back in, I want to say, Mirage or Visions. It was 2 colorless and 2 black for a 2/1 first striker that when it came to play you, it destroyed target. I'm not sure if it was non-black or non-black and non-artifact. Can't remember if it was Dark Vanishing or Terror built into him. But yeah, he had this lovely comes into play ability to nuke a creature. And that was fantastic. So it's like, hold on, I play him and I kill one of your creatures. That's great. And that's what I put stealing the opponent's creature effects at, really, is I take your dude. I effectively kill your guy and put out one of my own. I mean, granted, if it had a comes into play ability, you don't get that. Yeah, I understand, but you're still getting really good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, don't underestimate this guy. I doubt he sees use in casual. I doubt he sees use in tournament and serious tournament play. But in draft, he totally screws people up. And he's quite fun as an accelerator. I mean, earlier tonight, I had a Goblin Gavalier on the board, and this guy on the board, and then I drew an Argentum Armor, count up the mana I have available. It's like, ooh, I can play the Argentum Armor. Tap it up, drop the Argentum Armor. My opponent looks at it, it's like, what's that do? And it says, it does evil stuff. They show it to him, it's like, oh, okay. Then like, yeah, then I tap the Brash Squire and attach the Argentum Armor. to the Goblin Cavalier. He's now a 9/7 trample. Oh, and whenever I turn him sideways at you, I get to nuke one of your permanents. Oh, let me tell you something. People don't particularly like that action. But it was great because, I was able to drop it and equip it on the same turn. And it's not often you can do that with something that plays for 6 and equips for 6. Heavens forbid it. Most of the time, if you have 12 mana available, you should be winning the game. Most of the time. Every now and again, silly stuff happens. So, like, I've been waiting around to put together a couple of decks with some of the more recent cards that have been coming out. Like, I want to build the Selective Memory Red Sun Zenith deck. It's like, yeah, I selective memory out pretty much all my cards, except for Red Sun Zenith. I'm going to Zenith you over and over again. Don't worry, it's okay. I'll just win.